Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. First and foremost, we got a brand new episode of Shooting the Bull that just dropped. Episode number 3, Hunting Like a Wildlife Biologist. What the heck does that mean? Well, one of our regional wildlife biologists, David Bernasconi, dishes out all kinds of information, the sorts of patterns and things he's looking for on the landscape as a biologist, and how they can help you become a wiser, sharper-eyed hunter. I learned a ton from Bernasconi. It's a fun episode with fish and game engineer and one of my best friends, Tom Talley, getting to know Mr. Bernasconi and learn a few tricks of the trade heading into scouting and hunting season. So give it a listen. This week on the Hook and Bulletin, we got a ton of hunter and trapper ed classes popping up in corners of the state. A reminder, if you're soaking up the last bit of summer recreating on fish and game properties, and lo and behold, the first Sockeye salmon has successfully made its way back to the Sawtooths. More on that in a bit, but first, hunting season will be here before we know it. If you haven't already, here's why now is the perfect time to dust off that firearm or bow in preparation of the 2025 season. In a 1957 issue of American Rifleman magazine, famed writer and marksman Colonel Townsend Whalen quipped that, quote, "Only accurate rifles are interesting." Townsend argued that only those who spent the time sighting in and taking pride in their firearm, we'll go ahead and assume he means bows as well, produced rewarding outcomes as their skill set and marksmanship increased. Shooters who neglected their firearms, on the other hand, found the road to proficiency to be long and arduous, eventually losing interest in their hobby and soon disposing of it altogether. As hunting season approaches, let Whalen's remarks serve as a reminder that taking pride in your firearm or bow is merely the prologue to yet another edition of the hunting season. An obvious yet important reminder, your hunt will not end successfully if you can't deliver a bullet or arrow on target when it matters most. Here's Brenda Beckley, a hunter education administrator.
Taking the time to prepare and become a better marksman is the hallmark of an ethical hunter, and the better you become, the better your chances of successfully harvesting an animal.
Now that we've established the when to get started improving your aim, here's the how. Fish and Game offers several options for shooting and or archery ranges around the state. Blacks Creek, Farragut, Nampa, and Garden Valley Shooting Range are all Fish and Game owned public shooting ranges designed for safe firearm and bow practice by shooters of all abilities. In the Southwest, Nampa's public facility features both an indoor and outdoor archery range, as well as an indoor airgun range. There's also the Boise River WMA Archery Range, complete with 20 three-dimensional foam targets. In the Panhandle, there is Farragut Public Shooting Range, which also includes a 1-mile walk-through archery range. Several Idaho state parks, in cooperation with Fish and Game, have archery ranges with life-sized 3D targets that mimic big game animals. There are several other shooting ranges located across the state, some of which are co-managed by Idaho Fish and Game and the Shooting Range Development Grant Program. This program's mission is to provide funds to assist organizations or agencies to establish, upgrade, or expand, or otherwise improve public firearms and archery ranges in Idaho. Now, for a more comprehensive list of shooting ranges in Idaho, go check out the National Shooting Sports Foundation's Where to Shoot webpage. I'll make sure to put a link below in the description. The state-by-state shooting range directory lists contact information, facilities that are available, maps, and more for each range. Calling before you go is highly recommended as hours of operation, services, or shooting opportunities may be changing. For rifle hunters, many shooting experts recommend setting your initial target at 25 yards to make sure you hit the paper if you have a new rifle, have replaced a scope, or just don't know where your rifle's hitting. After shooting at that distance, move your target out to 100 yards or more to finish the sighting in process. Consistent accuracy is the ultimate goal when practicing shooting skills, so it's important that hunters consider their effective shooting range and practice at all distances out to that max number. It's also important to practice from a variety of shooting positions and not just leaning over the bench. Think about it. When that 4-point buck or that 6-point bull pauses along the hillside, you're not going to have the luxury of a bench rest and 5 minutes of slow breathing when you go to take that shot. Shooters should try to replicate the conditions they are likely to encounter in the field as closely as possible. So after your rifle is sighted in, consider doing some exercises to get your heart rate elevated and get your lungs working. That'll hopefully help mimic what shooting in the field may feel like. Now here's a hot tip for you.
Tip.
Hunters should always use the same ammunition for hunting as you do when sighting in your rifle. Next up, we got shotguns. Now don't let the Elmer Fudd cartoons fool you. There's a lot more to using a shotgun than just spraying a target with pellets. When it comes to preparation for wing shooting, hunters should focus on practicing different shots at different angles that may at first seem difficult. Here's another hot tip for you.
Tip.
Be sure you use the choke and shell combination you plan to use for the hunting season. Modified chokes produce a moderately tight pattern, good for rabbits, quail, and upland game birds. Full chokes have an even tighter pattern and are best suited for turkey, squirrels, and other game at longer range. Patterning a shotgun before the season is a fairly common practice with turkey hunters, but it's something upland game and migratory bird hunters should also consider. Knowing your pattern density at given distances can help you determine your effective range and give you a good idea of how your shotgun performs with a particular choke and shell combination. Every shotgun is different, and your shotgun will likely perform differently if you change either of those variables. Now, last but not least, there's archery. By this point in the game, most archery hunters using traditional and compound bows will already be dialed in as early season and archery-only hunts kick off in late August. But if you're new to the sport of bow hunting, you should start by visiting your local bow shop and get your bow tuned up, especially if you haven't shot it much or at all since last fall. After that, it's time to get your body back into shooting shape and practice at known and unknown distances. Archery ranges with life-sized 3D targets are good places to practice your shooting and estimating distance in a field setting. Another hot tip for you.
Tip.
Estimating distance is a lot more crucial in archery than it is in rifle hunting. To become proficient at gauging distances in the field, sharpen your eye by making estimates on various landmarks or 3D targets. Once you make an assessment, whip out your trusty rangefinder and confirm just how close or far off your naked eye was. Remember, Fish and Game has ranges at its Boise River Wildlife Management Area and Farragut Shooting Range. You can also find archery ranges at some of Idaho's state parks, including Hell's Gate near Lewiston, Castle Rock near Albion, and Dworshak near Orofino. Remember that most ranges will not allow you to shoot broadheads, and they usually shoot differently than field tips, so you'll need to re-sight in your bow when you make that switch. So, whether you're hauling a rifle or a recurve out into the field with you this hunting season, proper maintenance and preparation is a must. Be sure to brush up on your marksmanship and take care of your weapon to ensure a fun, safe, and quote-unquote interesting hunt. Go hit the link below to read my full article on Fish and Game's website. All right, moving on to some Sockeye news. On July 23rd, the first Sockeye salmon of the year swam into a fish trap in the Sawtooth Basin near Stanley. Over the last decade, the first Sockey's arrival has become predictable in late July or even early August, but what's now routine was doubtful nearly 35 years ago, when the remnants of Idaho's sockeye were swimming towards extinction. Over 1,000 sockeye this summer have migrated past Lower Granite Dam, which is about 40 miles downstream from Lewiston and about midway through their migration. These fish are heading towards the Sawtooth Basin, which is a huge increase from 1991 when Idaho's sockeye were listed under the Federal Endangered Species Act. Only 4 adult sockeye returned to the Sawtooth Basin that year, and only 23 fish total returned between 1991 and 1999, which included 2 years when 0 returned. Over the last decade, 2015 through 2024, the annual Idaho sockeye return has averaged 221, which ranged from a low of 17 to a high of 774. To reach the Sawtooth Basin, sockeye must swim 900 miles upstream from the Pacific Ocean and climb 6,250 vertical feet. When was the last time you did that? Historically, about 50 to 60% of the sockeye that cross Lower Granite Dam eventually reach their destination. After crossing Lower Granite, the fish have about a 450-mile journey remaining. Their trek can be hampered by a variety of factors, including low water in the Snake and Salmon rivers. Warm temperatures from summer heat can also slow their progress, deplete their energy, and make their final migration to the Sawtooth Basin extremely difficult. This summer, hot weather and potentially lethal hot water prompted biologists to truck 164 sockeye from Lower Granite Dam directly to the Eagle Hatchery to ensure spawners are available to produce the next generation. That may be a recurring strategy as summers become hotter and rivers are warmer during these sockeye migrations. To save Idaho's sockeye salmon run in the 1990s, Fish and Game biologists initiated a captive broodstock program with 16 adult anadromous sockeye, including 11 males and 5 females, 886 out-migrating smolts, and 26 residual adults. These fish were collected between 1991 and 1998, and through genetic testing and carefully controlled breeding, the broodstock program retained about 95% of the species' genetic variability. Now, a mix of hatchery and naturally reared sockeye return each year, and the captive broodstock program raises and retains some adult sockeye and hatcheries as a safeguard in case none return from the ocean. The captive broodstock have also helped biologists increase the number of young fish available to migrate to the ocean and also increase the number of adult fish returning. Sockeye returns are still modest compared with Idaho's other salmon, and their future is not guaranteed. But Fish and Game's sockeye program has pulled them back from the brink of extinction, and through careful management kept these redfish returning to their namesake lake in the Sawtooth Basin. For more on this story, hit the link to read Roger Phillips's article on our website. There's also a pretty sweet video on our YouTube channel called the Sockeye Roundup. I actually shot that video, but that's not why it's cool. To see just how chaotic and frantic rounding up all these redfish is, though, search Sockeye Roundup on our YouTube channel. It's pretty cool. Now, for this next story, Regional Wildlife Habitat Manager Norm Mertz is here to remind you that all users of Idaho Fish and Game properties can take steps to help reduce conflicts and enhance recreational experiences. With summer in full swing, the desire to get outside and enjoy all Idaho has to offer grows pretty strong. With a renewed recreation focus and a growing population, publicly accessible lands in Idaho are seeing a lot of use. These publicly available lands fall under many different ownerships, ranging from federal public lands to privately owned lands that allow public access. In fact, over 70% of land in the Panhandle region is publicly accessible. In short, there are a lot of places to go and see things. Fish and Game owns or manages only a small portion of these publicly accessible lands, and they are generally located in the valley bottoms and at key points to access various water bodies. Fish and Game properties are managed primarily for wildlife habitat and sportsman access for hunting, fishing, and trapping. Other uses such as hiking, biking, kayaking, and horse riding are also allowed. With growing use of Fish and Game lands, conflicts with the management goals and adjoining neighbors are increasing. Recreationists can take some simple steps to help reduce conflicts. The parking areas only have so much room, so when the parking lots are full, consider exploring new areas instead of parking outside of designated areas. This simple step would reduce overcrowding of the property, prevent conflicts with neighboring property owners, and eliminate safety issues on adjacent roadways. If you're bringing a horse trailer, remember you're taking up several vehicle spots, so consider going at less crowded times. Dogs are allowed on all Fish and Game properties, but please keep them under control to prevent them from chasing wildlife, disrupting nesting birds, affecting other visitors, or trespassing on neighboring properties. Many of our water access parcels have boat launches and provide parking for vehicles with trailers. Please don't block boat ramps or park vehicles without trailers in spaces designed for trailers. These actions would go a long way toward reducing conflicts, especially at these busier sites. As the seasons change, many of Fish and Game parcels will see hunters and trappers going afield looking for their quarry. When out in late summer and into the early fall, it's a good idea to wear hunter orange or hot pink clothing to make sure you're clearly visible. It's also a good time of year to keep your dog from running far from the trail to prevent any inadvertent encounters with trappers or hunters. Most sportsmen focus their efforts during the morning and evenings, so going for a hike in the middle of the day could lessen impacts to hunters using the area. No matter whose land you are recreating on, it is your responsibility to know the rules and be an ethical visitor. Being respectful of the property owner's rules and surrounding residences helps reduce conflicts and enhance the recreational experience for everyone. If you're looking for ideas for your next outing, make sure you check out our online hunt planner as well as our fishing planner platform. Also, don't hesitate to contact your local Fish and Game regional office if you have any questions or want advice on planning your next trip. All right, folks, last story of the week. Our enforcement team is looking for information about an illegal cow and calf moose killing near Kamiah.
What's that funny? The email first?
An incident of an illegally killed calf and cow moose took place on July 19th between 7 and 9 p.m. near Kamiah. The moose carcasses were found east of Kamiah in a meadow about 50 yards from the Forest Service Road number 500 near its intersection with Forest Service Road 5125. Both moose are believed to have been shot with a rifle from the road. In addition to these animals being killed out of season, conservation officers responding to the scene discovered about 75 to 100 pounds of meat were left to waste, including an entire quarter of the animal and portions of both backstraps. Anyone with information relating to this incident is encouraged to contact Fish and Game Senior Conservation Officer Aaron Wright at 208-921-4172 or contacting the Citizens Against Poaching hotline at 1-800-632-5999. Folks, you can also report on Fish and Game's enforcement tip line. Anyone reporting may remain anonymous, and those who provide information that leads to an arrest are eligible for financial rewards. Illegally killing 2 moose would constitute a felony here. The combined minimum fine for killing 2 moose during the closed season is $1,000, plus a combined civil penalty of $4,500 and a mandatory hunting license revocation. Moose hunting in Idaho is extremely limited, with once-in-a-lifetime harvest opportunities provided through a controlled hunt drawing in the spring. For more on this story, hit the link below to read the full press release. That is it for major stories this week. Let's hit the rapid-fire bulletin. Deadline for the second Super Hunt drawing is August 10th. The second Super Hunt drawing will include tags for 2 elk, 2 deer, 2 pronghorn, and 1 moose hunt. A Super Hunt combo that includes 1 tag for each of those species will also be drawn. All winners will be notified in mid-August. The Magic Valley region will be offering an instructor-led hunter education course in Rupert at the Rupert Outdoor Shooting Complex on August 26th through the 29th of 2025. The class will run Tuesday through Friday from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. An instructor-led hunter and bow hunter combination course will be held August 18th through the 21st. That's a Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to noon each morning at the Chalice Rod and Gun Club. This interactive course will certify students in both hunter and bow hunter education and is designed for youth 9 years of age or anyone new to hunting. Students will gain hands-on experience with firearms and bows and will learn about hunting laws and ethics, responsibility to landowners, wildlife identification, survival skills, first aid, and wildlife management. Idaho Fish and Game and the Lemhi County Gun Range will host a shotgun skills clinic in Salmon on Sunday, August 24th from 2 to 6 p.m. This clinic is designed for anyone, youth or adult, who wants to become more comfortable shooting shotguns in a controlled setting. Participants will receive one-on-one guidance from trained instructors and will practice shooting at flying clay targets. Clay targets and ammunition will be provided. For more information, contact the Salmon Regional Office at 208-756-2271 or shoot Ian Mott an email at ian.mott@idfg.idaho.gov. Okay, that's it for this week's stories. It's time for our question of the week. This week's question comes to us from someone I met at a fishing trailer event last night. The dad asked me, how old does my kid have to be before they need a resident fishing license? So any person 14 years of age or older must buy a fishing license. Licenses can be bought at vendors and fish and game offices, online with a computer, or on your mobile device at gooutdoorsidaho.com. Alternatively, you can also call 1-800-554-8685. Hope this helps. That's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind, or if you got a question related to fish and game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thanks for listening, folks. Catch you next week.